playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
But it's done with the Bulldogs!
I'd fight somebody for you. There ain't no wall I wouldn't run through. In your corner when we're ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd fight somebody for you.
Yes, hello WAFL fans. Welcome one and all to another huge edition of Around the WAFL, hot off the heels of a massive weekend in WAFL football. We had some thriller-dillers over the weekend, close games in the WAFL W and in the WAFL competition as well. We'll recap them all for you today, and a star-studded lineup of guests coming your way from East Fremantle and the Perth Football Club, as well as a snippet from the West Coast Eagles, and we'll talk more about that later. Paul Persick's my name. Great to have your company on the Around the WAFL YouTube channel, an amalgamation with the WA Sporting Hub, Front Row Screens and Associates, and joining me, man, this guy is on a roll. Ethan Roth, how you rocking tonight?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. And it was a great weekend across the board. Another weekend in the books. So, some close results, some not so close results that maybe caught us by surprise. So
Absolutely.
Look forward
And
to digging in.
Absolutely. We're going to be speaking in just a moment with Liam Robinson, the new recruit from East Fremantle, and he made a huge statement on Saturday by kicking 4 goals. Amy Trindade, who drew the game against South Fremantle, kicking the game-tying goal at Fremantle Oval. I had a chat with her a little earlier today about that game, and also a snippet with Callum Jamieson, the West Coast Eagles captain, off the back of their great victory over West Perth on Sunday at Mineral Resources Park. Hey, we're backed by Sullivan Logistics, great partners of WAFL in 2026, Grants Car Stereo, District Promotions, and Front Row Screens. Great to have their support in season 2026.
Nah, it sure is. Can't happen without them. So, it's been a great start to the year with those sponsors on board.
And there is more to come. Let's get right down to business here on Around the WAFL. Now, how about those Sharks, Rothy? After losing to Peel Thunder in round 1, they responded in how in a thriller against Subiaco, winning by just 3 points in front of their loyal home fans at Good Grocer Park. And they've unearthed a lot of great interstate recruits, of course, Oscar Smart being one of them, formerly of Essendon, and another from Norwood. And that's who we're going to be speaking to on our recap edition of Around the WAFL. He booted 4 goals in that great win over Subiaco. His name's Liam Robinson, and he's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Liam, hello, mate.
G'day guys, how you going?
We're going well. Great to have you on the show. Congrats on the win, your first win in East Fremantle colours. The group was really pumped up about that win, especially how close the Lions got and how you fought back in the dying seconds.
Yeah, it was chaos. I think we spoke about a post game about the scrappy nature of the game, and probably wasn't the exact way we wanted to play footy, but we knew that sort of when push came to shove, we've got a heap of talent on this list who can sort of push us through, especially the senior talent. I mean, for the nature of the game, Harry Marsh's 200th, which, I mean, honour to play alongside blokes like him, John O'Marsh, and stuff like that. But we knew that when the push came to shove, we took our moments and obviously had that opportunity late to sort of seal it. So
Would have been a great feeling kicking that goal. Probably you had a fair inkling that it would have been the match-winning goal, so would have been a great way to cap off your afternoon.
Yeah, it was. I can't say I wasn't nervous when I took that mark. I was half expecting the field umpire to point me around on the angle and maybe a little bit more nervous, but I was happy to take it in the goal square and put me back. I was thinking about the Giants VFL side with a bloke that went back 45 metres and took an extra 45 seconds off the clock to start his run up, but I got called on pretty quickly, so I had to go back and kick it, and thankfully a few good marks from Alex Montadell and Len, who were late, and I put the seal it, which was nice. So.
And what brought you to Perth, and more specifically East Fremantle?
A funny story. I was initially was lined up primed to go around again at Nord, and my partner Macy got into med school over here, so we made a very rash decision in December to move across to Perth as a part of her studies at Notre Dame. So we moved across, and I got in touch with a former coach out at Nord, Jade Rawlings, who coached with Shane Woden out at Brisbane. So that was a connection to here, and he knew my game plan very well, with playing under him in 2023 and 2024, and sort of knew the way that I wanted to play my footy. And then and he said, the way that Extra have moved, and with a few of the partings of some very senior players from their list over the last couple of years, he said that it's a perfect primed opportunity to sort of play some very, very good footy understanding that, there is a whole heap of history here, but even with the bigger decks that are associated with waffle footy, it sort of suits my game plan pretty well.
And what we've learnt from your connections going to East Fremantle, Perth is a small world after all. There's no doubt about that. How do you compare the waffle game style to the style over in the SANFL? Any differences that you've noticed in your time so far at East Fremantle?
It's a completely different game style. It's the sample footy style is very much a kick mark, and the Nord game plan is very much a kick mark style operation. To put it into perspective, the East Fremantle Oval is certainly not the biggest oval in waffle footy, but it's 50 metres wider and about 40 metres longer than Nord Oval. So there's certainly no space in sample footy to sort of move around and lead up inside forward 50. So the game plan here and the game style that they play, and what I've seen and what I've been a part of, is very fast-flowing footy because there is so much space. And so sample footy is a bit slower and a bit more direct and more skill-orientated in terms of the fact that you're sort of having to shift the ball very quickly to get it moving, whereas in the waffle, there's so much fast-paced energy and big, strong midfielders getting it out to the wings and utilising the space of the ground. And teams like Subiaco with blokes like Steph Giro who can run and make it, and teams like Peel who, like Dyson Sharp, who is a freak, Jeremy Sharp down there, who's a freak runner, that they can utilise the oval and utilise the width to make them a good side. It's a bit of a different pace, I think.
And you've got another big test this week coming up against East Perth, who had a come-from-behind victory against Swan Districts on the weekend. So another test, I guess it doesn't get any easier for your side.
No, we certainly, we're taking every week as it comes. I think as a group here, we're a younger group and we've got some very wise players and blokes who played a lot of waffle footy, and so we're sort of learning. We've got blokes who played 10 games of waffle footy and blokes who played 200 games of waffle footy. So the talent group here, we're sort of taking it one week at a time and adjusting our game plan accordingly, because we're such a malleable group who can adjust to whatever challenges are posed to us. And so I think it's a really exciting time to be at the club, and we look at each challenge coming in front of us to be right. We're primed and set and ready to go. So I think it's a very interesting perspective, looking at East Perth going, right, this week we're set for a new challenge, and then the week after we reset, we reevaluate and come back out and deal with that as it comes. So we're certainly not looking to get too far ahead of ourselves and taking it one week at a time.
Massive game on Saturday night against East Perth in round 3. Congrats on the win over at Goodgrocer Park on the weekend, Liam. You're having a killer time so far at East Fremantle. You've been a superstar up the forward line. Let's hope there's many more goals to come. Liam, I really appreciate your time. All the best on Saturday night.
Thanks, Liam.
Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
East Fremantle's Liam Robinson joining us here on Around the Waffle. Star up forward. Could be, that new number 1 forward, because he's got some big shoes to fill after Cody Leggett departed the club.
Yeah, not a household name, but sometimes, that can be the best thing. Coming in when you're not maybe super well known, and he's certainly adapted to waffle footy. 4 goals on the weekend, including the winner, so hard to fault his performance so far. And, coming in relatively, late notice, as he said. He said he was going around another year for Norwood, and credit to East Fremantle for being able to sign him.
Absolutely, and through the connections as well, not just with their footy manager, Shane Woden. And as I said before, Perth is a small world after all, there's no doubt. We'll recap that game in a little bit more detail after the break, because afterwards we're going to recap round 2 in full here on Around the Waffle. You're watching on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel and on your podcast service. Stay where you are. We'll be back after this.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley. Proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years. Selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems. Stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley. Or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle for your Monday night recap show. Hey, if you miss out on checking the show right away, you can watch it anytime on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel or on your podcast service. Round 2, Rothy. It's in the books, but gee, what a couple of close games we had over the weekend. Sadly, this was not one of them. At Fremantle Oval, South Fremantle, the reigning premiers, unfurling the flag in style and then doing a number on the Demons, 11-18 to 5-8. And for the Bulldogs, a bit of history, their record equaling 17th win in a row.
Yeah, we sort of built it up to match of the round, and South Fremantle proved that it was anything but that. Getting out of the blocks early to kick a couple, and it was really them the whole way. I mean, they kept Perth to just 1 point in the third quarter, and yeah, I think they just came to play, and it was a stacked performance across the board, led by Trey Rusk, who kicked 4 goals up forward, and little birdie tells me that he's going to be going to Europe at some point throughout the season. Not for a while, I don't think, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but you can't replace a player like him, so for the time being, they're going to make the most of him, and they did that on the weekend.
They got a big booster during the week with the return of Matty Parker and Tom Bletchenden, and they paid great dividends. Parker, he played like he never left. Another massive game, 31 disposals, 3 marks, 5 tackles, and a lovely goal to boot, 4 inside 50s. He's got that drive about him in that midfield. He can create opportunities with flair, and when he's got the ball in his hand, he can make things happen, and he certainly did on the weekend. So did Tom Bletchenden. Wasn't rusty at all. He was very pristine when moving the ball from midfield into attack, and those 2 returnees, huge for South Fremantle, and it worked in the end. Yeah,
Tom Bletchenden rarely makes a mistake. So good by foot, and we know how well he can accumulate the ball, so just what part of this contingent for South Fremantle where they bat so deep in the midfielders. Their window was also good with 30 disposals. Jake Florenka again, and their backs held up well. Highlight for mine was the goal to Drage. I thought that was a real good one outside of the boot, and by that time the game was probably dead and buried, but they continued on. It's a bit of a theme with the Bulldogs across all grades, really. They, no matter what the scoreboard is, they just push on as if it's neck and neck right until the final siren.
It's a very professional setup, and I think that's why they keep pushing on. They're a very professional setup. They've got a coach who's South Fremantle through and through, knows the game plan and the way of South Fremantle, and his players follow up with that vision. Not just with Rusco, who I thought was brilliant up forward, Drage, as you said, with a couple of goals, and in the back line and in the ruck, Hamish Free in particular. That barometer in the middle and down in defence obviously is going to be vital against any side. Hamish Free certainly was that. And Isaiah Winder, and don't forget Chad Pearson, the Premiership captain as well, also played his role in starving the Perth forwards out of any opportunities, because when the ball went Perth's way, their forward line was too predictable against a very polished back line.
Yeah, it was, and I think when you got the likes of Clark and Johnson coming off 13 goals between them, only restricting them to what they had on the weekend, which was only just the 2 goals between them, singles. I think, to credit to South Fremantle, they look as good as they've been last year. Obviously, 17 wins in a row now. It's hard to see. I know at an early stage, but who's going to beat them?
Yeah, who is? That's going to be the big question. The Eagles again? Who knows? West Perth? Peel Thunder? Whoever? You'd just be hard-pressed to find a side that can beat them with the talent that they have got on paper. And they lost 4 experienced players at the end of last season, and they're still winning games in that nature. Testament to the recruiting and the resources they have at South Fremantle for a job well done so far.
Yeah, they lost players, but I think the thing that maybe you've got about is those Premiership players, a lot of them are young. So Rowan O'Hare straight away comes to mind. He's only been in the Waffle League system for like a year or two really consistently. So yes, they're Premiership players, but it's almost like that experience that they lost, they're making up with another year into these younger guys.
For the Perth side, in the meantime, Davis with 30 down the back line. He had to work overtime to get his disposals, no doubt about that. Taylor with 31, and you're having your 2 leading defenders getting 30 or more possessions. The ball's gone down that way a hell of a lot. But Perth, no cause for alarm bells ringing, but that was a reality check for them. It was an honest reality check for Perth to show that if you want to play with the big boys, you've got to hang with them for 4 quarters. Sides like South Fremantle, Claremont, East Perth, you've got to get it done against those sides to be a real finals contender in 2026. And for Perth, that was a wake-up call.
Yeah, very contrast versus the Eagles and then South Fremantle, but you're right, like they have to adapt. So, obviously we don't want to credit teams too much when they're high, and vice versa when they're not winning. So it'll be a big test against Peel Thunder coming up. the difference between 2 and 1 and 1 and 2 shouldn't be underestimated.
Absolutely. They did beat Peel Thunder last year at Lane Group Stadium to make a final spot. By the numbers, thanks to Waffle Footy Facts, Rick Gauchi and his team. We talked about South Fremantle's historic streak a little earlier. Perth's goal drought, what a drop in goals. They kicked 24 in round 1, then just 5 in round 2. The biggest consecutive game reduction since back in 1987. So that is an unwanted record for the Perth Football Club, and they'll want to put that behind them very, very quickly. But the reigning premiers, 2 from 2, looking very strong indeed. Now, East Perth and Swan Districts played out a real topsy-turvy game down at Leederville Oval. You were there for the call on 7+. And a slow start by East Perth, and Swan Districts were in the box seat for 3 quarters. But what a final turn by the Royals. They hammered it home, winning by 20 points.
Yeah, it was sort of the tale of two halves in the end. And Swan Districts got off to a flying start. They were so accurate through the likes of Provost, McLaughlin inside 50. I'm sure we'll talk about that goal a little later. But they were just completely in front of East Perth. And East Perth were caught off guard a little bit. And and then they got back. Mitch Schofield kicking 4 goals in the end, and some pretty crucial ones. One that stands out when Amajuri got a hand pass to him. Mitch Schofield could have gone over the top to Queck and went himself, and that really set up his day.
And what really is good about that forward setup, what really stood out on that Saturday, is that they've got some great forwards. They don't have that prime tall forward at the moment. Okay, Seb Queck is the tallest one out there, but he's not kicking the most goals. They've got a more flexible forward line. They don't have to be concrete tall forwards. They can be good small forwards that can get the ball at ground level. We saw that on Saturday through Schofield with those 4 goals. Tom Graham didn't have his best day up forward, 1 goal, 3. And contrastingly, Zach Provost with 4 goals straight for Swan Districts could have had a lot more if he had some extra support from the midfield.
Yeah, obviously their mids, didn't hit the score, but they set up goals. So, the familiar names, True was the leading possession getter on the ground. Also, Hinchliffe had 20 in his second outing. Jesse Turner as well. They threw Max Chipper in the middle to go with Cooper Stevens. He shut him down to only 3 disposals, but then a little bit off the chain after that to end up with the 18. His Perth's inaccuracy was a feature, and that's what we're saying on the call. Like, if they don't win this, it's down to their inaccuracy. Graham missed a few set shots, but luckily for them, it didn't cost them too much. Darcy Craven as well, back-to-back weeks with 3 goals. He's been a real, not fine because he's coming back to the club, but it's easy to see why he was on Brisbane's list.
Yeah, he's got something to prove that he deserves to be on an AFL list again, doesn't he? Darcy Craven with 3 goals. The ruck battle carried plenty of intrigue as well. Impey up against Scott Jones, and it was very much even for the first half, but then Scotty Jones, his work around the ball was just tremendous, and he's got more experience than Impey to play that role at ground level and follow up his work out of the middle. Jones was terrific in that department as well. Wilcox with 22, Mitch Schofield, as we mentioned, Angus Scott with 23, and their engine room really clicked into gear in that last quarter. And these slow starts for East Perth, they've got to find some way to fix them because they're going up against East Fremantle on Saturday night, and they don't want to have a 3rd slow start in a row.
Yeah, and they started slowly against Subiaco, so a little bit of a trend they'll be looking to fix. A couple of players that came into the side, I thought Cassidy had his moments, was a bit quiet, but obviously his first league game since round 11, so you've got to cut him a bit of slack in there. I thought the likes of Milner, who played really well across half-back, there was, a couple of players coming through that weren't sort of part of that grand final team, but, are now. And Cade Gray on debut had 14 disposals, a lengthy stint in the reserves in the Colts, and he had a nice deserved Gatorade shower after the game to celebrate.
Well-deserved Cade Scray for his league debut, and well-deserved win to East Perth too. Hard-fought win over Swan Districts by 20 points. By the numbers, thanks to Waffle Footy Facts in this game, 22, East Perth's great escape. The quarter-time deficit the Royals overcame to beat Swan Districts, their biggest comeback at Leederville since 35 points against the Swans in 2001, which is their biggest overall at the ground. So they'll be very happy that they achieved a nice little record there as well to boot.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you win and get those numbers in your favour, you're going to be extra happy.
Yeah, certainly will, and so will the Sharks. How about their performance in the last quarter at Good Grocer Park against a shell-shocked Subiaco? In the end, the Sharks winning by just 3 points. And especially, what is going to be talked about the most out of this game is the last 30 seconds. How East Fremantle were able to get the ball from end to end so easily. I reckon Jared Schofield would still be thinking about that very passage right at this moment, because I'll give you a couple of reasons why Subiaco lost that game, and those reasons were in that passage. They didn't man up tightly enough in that defensive half, and they let so many kicks to loose men quite easily. You can't do that when the game is on the line with less than a minute to go, and I'm afraid Subiaco had a gap, and East Fremantle just plugged it.
Yeah, it's a game of inches, isn't it? I mean, one week they're winning a close one, the next they're losing one. So, that old saying of a week is a long time in footy for Subiaco. Obviously, Liam Robinson, guest for tonight, said that he was, pretty fortunate to get in the end of that. But I think he's being pretty modest. He was outstanding with 4 goals. Jack Mayo kicked 3, and Joe Rowe continues his goal kicking ways. Stanley Ciano kicked 2 goals, as did Douglas and Mott, but then also East Fremantle. I thought Jack Cleaver was probably best on ground. 26 disposals, 2 goals. Just continues to go from strength to strength. Obviously, Oscar Smart backed up his performance with a couple on the scoreboard as well. And how about Kobe Austin's goal on the boundary?
How about that?
Just a cool customer that goes about his work, but leads by example. And Harry Marsh, ironically, against his former side, his 200th game, celebrating in style.
Absolutely. What a milestone for Harry Marsh, one of the greats over there at East Fremantle, celebrating 200 with a win. Subiaco, I'll give him credit as well. Beside that last passage of play, the way they fought back after being held to just 2 behinds in that first quarter was brilliant. Rickson in the ruck, terrific. He had 38 hit-outs. Greg Clark, captain, up to his usual best with 10 tackles to go with his 23 disposals. Josh Robbins with 20. He continues to improve week by week. And the backline, I thought, really held their own, only keeping East Fremantle to 4 goals up to half-time. Pity they didn't get on with it to the great extent that they had in the first half. But they can take a lot out of this loss and know that, this is a young side, rejuvenated side. They're going to have these close losses early in the season. And, they'll learn a lot from this. They're a good side, but, they've got to work on how to close out those games when it's in the balance, like they did in round 1.
Yeah, they're going to have ups and downs, which I think goes without saying. And bullshit, obviously that tight angle missed that shot, but again, if he kicks it, we're labelling him a hero. If not, then that I guess credit goes to Liam Robertson at the other end. So it's a fine line, to say the least, between these results, and East Fremantle got the lick of the ice cream on this occasion.
Absolutely. Great crowd over there at Goodgrosser Park. They really turned out in full force and they cheered their Sharks on to victory. By the numbers, thanks to WAFL Footy Facts, the Sharks' margin over Subiaco, 3 points, the smallest against the Lions since the year 2000, and also it's their 4th 3-point win over Subi. And 3 points is the most common winning margin. They've now been separated, a game's been separated by 3 points 229 times. So there you go. East Fremantle, latest to achieve that feat. We go to Revo Fitness Stadium for this next one, and it was a real grind, this one. Many expected the Battle of the Rucks to be evenly matched, Mason Cox and Oliver Eastland. In the end, it was a fizzer, with Cox dominating that battle, but Claremont won the war. They won by 11 points after scores were level at half-time, 7-10 to 6-5. And while I was on the call with John Townsend at three-quarter time, we were thinking that the AFL-listed players of the Peel side would have the better legs in the last quarter. They were going with the breeze. What we didn't know is that Claremont, they had fresher legs as well, and they were able to take the game on and make the most of every chance they got through the likes of Rogers, Mainwaring to a lesser extent, and to a greater extent, of course, you talk about the great Callan England, the co-captain of the Claremont side. They were brilliant in that second half and guided them to victory.
Yeah, sometimes you win ugly, don't you? And probably wasn't the greatest game of all time. Obviously, you were on the call for a pretty scrappy game and low-scoring affair. But
very physical, though.
Yeah, it was physical. And, I think if it wasn't for Jeremy Sharp, Peel Thunder would have lost by a lot more. I think he was probably their best by a fair way, 27 disposals, 3 goals. And just reminding Freo that he's still thereabouts, although obviously the senior team have been winning and a tough team to break into. Some of the Dockers teammates, 24 disposals for Nathan O'Driscoll, Mason Cox, 19 disposals, 34 hit-outs. We expect him to come in, so that'll be a loss for Peel to potentially adjust to, that we'll discuss later in the week. But yeah, I thought Claremont across the board just took their chances a little bit more so.
Yeah, they certainly did, especially their experienced campaigners. They really stood up to the task when the game was in the balance. Warm conditions obviously played a bit of a factor. It was about 30, 31 degrees, and the players were really grinding it out. And obviously, stoppage after stoppage in the last quarter was what both sides relied on to try and keep the contest alive. More so Claremont, especially with the oppressive heat. And every moment that there was a stoppage, Claremont were able to just regain that energy. But take nothing away from Peel Thunder. They kept in touch in the game. Tardrew, I thought, was Peel's best for me. Sharp, he was brilliant with 3 goals. But the way Tardrew gathered and delivered the ball from half-back to provide opportunities for his forwards further up the ground, I thought was terrific. Very polished and professional performance.
Yeah, coming into the team in recent times, adapting really well in Peel colours. So, yeah, hard to get a read of where Peel Thunder are at, really, after the 2 games. I mean, you can say that for all sides, but I think they'll set themselves against a big game against Perth this week. That's, both teams need to bounce back with.
No doubt about it. And Claremont, they'll be high on confidence against South Fremantle next week, knowing that they've got a lot of depth in their side. They're remaining injury-free, and their match fitness really was copybook stuff. Ash Prescott will be very, very pleased with that performance. By the numbers, 52, Claremont's win, it's Tigers' lowest score ever against Peel Thunder, lowest since 6-13-49 against East Perth in 2018, and a club record low winning score, and back in 1950 it was achieved against West Perth 3-13-31. So sometimes you don't have to score high to win, but well done to the Claremont Football Club nonetheless. And then we go to Sunday, West Perth and the West Coast Eagles, and some could say an upset, some could say a miracle, but who cares? The West Coast were able to get it done against West Perth. They turned on the Jets in the last quarter with an impressive 5-1 finish to beat West Perth by 15 points. And as in West Perth's case, bad kicking's bad football. Several wasted chances cost them dear, and the Eagles made them pay and then some.
Yeah, 12-20. Anytime you do that, you're going to be up against it. You probably win a lot of those games, but not on this occasion. And the Eagles, hey, I mean, we spoke last week about what's happening with their side, how long is this going to continue on for, and they proved that wrong for the time being against the West Perth team, who now go 0-2, and yeah, it was a real seesawing game, to say the least.
It was, great way to conclude the weekend with a competitive, high-scoring game in warm conditions, but what really was impressive for me was the Eagles' pressure on the ball carrier, and they were invited to apply the pressure on. Being at the ground at Mineral Resources Park on Sunday, West Perth got handball happy. They overused the handball, and that allowed the West Coast Eagles to apply the pressure on the ball carrier. And the pressure was invited to the likes of Cole, Bazzo, McRae, Champion, and also Callum Jamieson, the Eagles skipper. And that was the most impressive thing about that, to me, for the Eagles in that side. They did not give West Perth any real chance to take the game on, and they had to rely on handball to make sure they got into their attacking zone. And the pressure on the by the Eagles, just brilliant.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, it's a much-needed win for them. Jack Williams kicking 4, Champion 2, coming back into the lineup. And, yeah, I think a bit more, like, as weird as it sounds, like they were a bit more settled, There wasn't as many changes coming in and out as previous years, I guess, which is a sign of faith, a lot of those players.
Because they only made 4 changes to that side. Usually they'd make about 6 or 7.
Exactly. Tom Cole was really good, 28 disposals. Rhett Bazzo was exceptional. Down back, we probably forget what he's capable of. Still early stages of his AFL career. Tyrell Gilbert continued where he left off with 19 as well. But Jack Williams, just reminding that, he's still in the frame. I know, obviously, like Shanahan, Reid, etc., have gone above him and had that priority of being a bit younger. But Jack Williams just holds his ground, really, a real physical beast when he gets going.
West Perth, in the meantime, they did have their positives. Riley Sprigg in the ruck with 33. Keitel again, 4 goals, 3. But like Perth against South Fremantle, West Perth's forward line was predictable. Again, they relied on Keitel and not to kick their goals. They didn't have any goal-kicking mids apart from DeMarte.
Connor West as well.
To give him credit as well. West, 42 disposals in a losing team. That's a hell of an effort. But when the game was in the balance, and, I don't usually like to go on a bit of a loop or a rant or whatever it's called, but West Perth did not look mentally tough in that last quarter. There needs to be a bigger aspect of mental toughness when the game is in the balance. Not saying West Perth are a weak side, but in the last 2 weeks, when the pressure has got to West Perth, whether it be in the first or the last quarter, they've simply wilted. And under a coach who prides himself on mental toughness, that being Paul Sanzoni, I reckon the players' performance was a bit of disrespect to Paul Sanzoni's approach in that mental toughness realm. I'm sorry, but it was completely unacceptable in that last quarter, and I hope Sanzoni sorts them out during the week before their game against Swan Districts, which is a must-win.
Yeah, they want that to come thick and fast, won't they? You mentioned Connor West there, 42 disposals and a goal, so him and Kane Bevan, who had high 30s as well, positives for them. Obviously, Connor West knows the Eagles, probably as good as any other West Perth team, West Perth player. But, yeah, the Eagles, they have a little bit of a habit doing this at Mineral Resources Park when, potentially the previous week they've been under a bit of pressure.
Well, they have their first 5 games there, and they're now 1-1. And, of course, they play against Subiaco on Sunday morning out of the 3rd out of their 5 games at Lathlane. Speaking of the Eagles, their captain, Callum Jamieson, his first win as a new Eagles captain. I spoke with him after the game. Here it is.
Callum Jamieson, congrats on the win, your first win of the season. And what stood out to me is you celebrated the little moments that got you guys over the line. Would that be a fair assessment?
100%, mate. We spoke about it pre-game, celebrating the little things, not going away from the stuff that worked over the pre-season. So, yeah, we celebrated the little things. We did the little things well. And, it was good to come out on top and get the 4 points.
You've beaten West Perth before. What does it take to beat a side like them who have gone through their struggles? They've got some younger players in the side. What did you work out from the last time that you beat West Perth taken into this game today?
Yeah, West Perth have got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of drive out of their back half with the two Rothman boys down there, and Benny Johnson, who uses the ball really well. So a lot of it was about taking their drive away and getting good team D from us. If we could stifle their ball movement, we thought would be a good chance to win, and yeah, we got it done.
West Perth, they were pretty handball happy in that game, and they invited you to pile on the pressure on the ball carry. You kept that intensity up for 4 quarters, no matter how much the margin ballooned out at one stage.
Yeah, I thought the boys in the midfield, Finn McRae, Tom Gross, Archie Watt, these kind of boys bring the pressure all day, made them have to handball it. And yeah, it was good to get on top.
What about your back line as well? Because when West Perth got the inside 50 entry, especially in the second half, they went to the same route, and you were able to work that out very quickly with your back six, really working hard, and for that matter, overtime for that second half.
Yeah, they target their two big boys a fair bit of the time. They target Glytel and Livingston, and I thought Red did a really good job. Tommy Cole did a really good job, and Luca Grego came off to help. So, yeah, we were a pretty tight unit as a back six today, and I thought we stood up well.
We've got Subiaco in 7 days' time in a morning match, and the Lions have been on the rebound in the last couple of games. How do you fancy your chances against the Subiaco side that look rejuvenated this season?
Yeah, they look good. I know Scully will be prepping them to come out firing. Yeah, we think our best will match it with anyone. So we'll regroup, we'll review this game, and we'll check out Subi and get into them next week.
Fantastic. Thanks. Callum Jamieson, congrats on the win, your first win of the season. And what stood out to me is you celebrated the little moments that got you guys over the line. Would that be a fair assessment?
100%, mate. We spoke about it pre-game, celebrating the little things. Not going away from the stuff that worked over the pre-season. So, yeah, we celebrated the little things. We did the little things well. And, yeah, it was good to come out on top and get the 4 points.
You've beaten West Perth before. What does it take to beat a side like them who have gone through their struggles? They've got some younger players in the side. What did you work out from the last time that you beat West Perth taken into this game today?
Yeah, West Perth have got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of drive out of their back half with the two Rothman boys down there, and Benny Johnson, who uses the ball really well. So a lot of it was about taking their drive away and getting good team D from us. If we could stifle their ball movement, we thought would be a good chance to win, and yeah, we got it done.
West Perth, they were pretty handball happy in that game, and they invited you to pile on the pressure on the ball carry. You kept that intensity up for 4 quarters, no matter how much the margin ballooned out at one stage.
Yeah, I thought the boys in the midfield, Finn McRae, Tom Gross, Archie Watt, these kind of boys bring the pressure.
So there you have it. Eagles captain Callum Jamieson, jubilant about the win, but knows there's a lot of growth and development that's ahead of the Eagles side, who are going to be a lot more competitive than the last couple of years.
Yeah, credit to him for sticking around. Obviously, being delisted off the AFL team, I think a lot of players would move on to another club or what have you. But for him to recognise that a lot of talent coming through, that he can solely focus on being at the WAFL Eagles each and every week. It gives them that structure and that level head down back particularly.
Great win by the Eagles, and Callum Jamieson has got a good head on his shoulders as captain. 10 is the number thanks to Waffle Footy Facts. West Coast Miracle win. The scoring shots, 32 for 22. Only once has a team with a bigger negative differential. Perth against South Fremantle in 1972. 12 fewer shots, still won 1910, 124 to 1427.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So it's a rare occurrence, isn't it?
It certainly is. Shout out to Rick Gauchi and Waffle Footy Facts for those numbers across the week. That's 2 rounds down, and we're already seeing a very close ladder, and we'll show you that in round 4 once a full picture of the season is presented to us. Now, time for the votes. The Player of the Year votes for round 2. 1 vote. I'm going to give Tourette Bazzo of the West Coast Eagles. I thought he was the real driver in that engine room. Another big possession game, and the way he carried the ball from midfield into attack was tremendous. And he's part of the Eagles' game plan of applying the pressure to the ball carrier when West Perth got handball happy. I thought he played the biggest role on that. 2 votes in a losing side, Jeremy Sharp from Peel Thunder. Without a doubt, Peel's best, and without Sharp's 3 goals, Peel would have lost by a bigger margin. Considering the application that Peel had put in, they only ran out of legs in the last quarter, but Sharp's effort was indeed sharp by name, sharp by nature, no pun intended. 3 votes, Jack Cleaver of East Fremantle. He was the Sharks' best and one of the best of the round in general. His running game was brilliant. He did not run out of gas at any stage and really showed that tough nature in a tough contest out there at Goodgrosser Park. 4 votes, Matthew Parker in his return. Great to see him back and back in top form as well. He's shown he's lost no spring in his step after missing a bit of the pre-season and round 1 as well. But the top gun this week from East Perth, Mitch Schofield. What a great role he played up forward in that win over Swan Districts. 4 goals, and he's playing with a lot of confidence being restored. Obviously, he missed a season with a knee injury a couple of years ago. He's come back. Obviously, a bit of a mixed season in 2025, but now he's really started 2026 in top form.
Yeah, and he played reserves last week, keeping that in mind. So he won't be playing reserves, for the foreseeable future, you'd have to say. So, yeah, hard to argue with those votes there. And, I reckon they're not going to be the only votes that we see in this round when it comes to best and fairest and the all-important Sandover.
Absolutely. Of course, we'll have our first Player of the Year leaderboard after the 4th round of competition. Okay, we're going to clear a break. When we do come back here on Around the Waffle, Rothy's back with his Colts report. We have the Super Round in Joondalup this past Sunday. And also, we're going to be hearing a bit from Amy Trindade. I spoke with her a little earlier today about that draw by Perth against South Fremantle over the weekend. You're listening and watching Around the Waffle. You're watching on YouTube and listening to your podcast service. Stay where you are. More after this.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate.
On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel, which is also in part with the WA Sporting Hub, an amalgamation with Front Row Screens and Associates, and also our podcast service, wherever you're listening, anywhere around the world of waffle football. Okay, time for Colts action, Rothy. Your Colts report, round 2 in the books. We had the Super Round, so all the AFL recruiters had their eyes on the next best thing. Who stood out to you the most this weekend?
Yeah, it's a great initiative. Well, prior to the Sunday, obviously the one game on the Saturday, Claremont, they were challenged at different times by Peel Thunder. They were only down by less than a goal at halftime with the Thunder, but as Claremont often do, they ran away with it. Harry Brooks kicking 3 goals and a long list of goal kickers. I thought probably if Peel Thunder didn't have Mitch Sterling, they would have lost by a lot more. So that's another week he's done that, and they're going to have to probably find an answer when he goes out with State 18's duties. But still, Thunder improving even if they're not seeing the results at the moment. Classic to start things off on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
East Perth coming from behind, and Jack Clary 3 goals and also 27 disposals to match it, including the winner. He was on fire. And
Jack Clark medal votes incoming.
Yeah, you'd have to say so. Obviously, fuel for Swan Districts, they led, but a late charge from East Perth banking on consecutive goals, and that'll do them a bit of confidence, a bit of an upset in that Colts game. Moving over to the next one on Sunday, East Fremantle, comprehensive victory over Subiaco. Again, Subiaco challenged and had their moments, and some accuracy from East Fremantle they'll look to fix up. But Reid Foot kicking 4 goals, and Oscar Richardson in just his second Colts game, 26 disposals and 2 goals as well. Thought he was outstanding. And then the last game, which I was on the call for, South Fremantle from the outset were just too strong. They won by 80 plus points in the end, and a long list of goal kickers. Perth took the best part of almost half time to score a goal, and their debutants probably lifted more than their senior players. But Finn Tomasini had 26 disposals to lead both sides, and probably don't have enough time to go through every single South Fremantle player, and that probably reflects how dominant they've been to start the year.
Team performance from South Fremantle, of course, looking to bounce back after last year's grand final, and they are looking very good. Some of the three players that stood out to you over the Colts weekend, and of course part of your Brain Ethan top 5 as well. You can hear the Brain Ethan show every week. Who have you got this week?
Yeah, Jack Clary is going to be hard to ignore. I mean, not only that winner, but he had 3 goals, 20-odd disposals in the end. A few other names to keep an eye out for. I thought Harry Brooks with 3 goals. Again, only his second game of Colts footy was outstanding, and probably from that same game, Mitch Sterling, as I mentioned, he's resolute in the back 50 at the moment, which is a credit to him, but something that Peel Thunder are going to have to tidy up as well. But yeah, good round across the board. I think Perth, we've got to come a bit of slack because they didn't play in round 1 and they also had to wait for the last game of the Colts Super round, so they had an extra long wait and a very young team. So hopefully they can turn it around coming up against Peel Thunder, and one of those sides, albeit no draw, will get a first win in round 3, which we'll preview later in the week.
That'll be a huge game on Saturday, no doubt about that. Love your work as always, Rothy. Great Colts report. On the subject of Perth, their WAFL W team, how about their rise to save the game against South Fremantle? Earlier today, I spoke with the lady that kicked that match-saving goal, Amy Trindade, who's made her way over from Carlton in the VFLW, and how she has taken to the WAFL W style since coming over to Perth in 2026. Here's my chat with Amy Trindade a little earlier today. All right, Amy Trindade from the Perth Football Club is with me here on Around the WAFL. Hello, Amy.
Hey, how you going?
Going very well. Great to have you on the show. How about that for a finish on the weekend? A draw against South Fremantle. Must have been quite surreal, kicking the match-saving goal, if you will, with seconds remaining.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a bit of a back-and-forth game the whole night, so it was good. It kind of felt like a bit of a win towards the end with a goal in the last couple of seconds. So, yeah, it was a good game.
It does feel a bit surreal, isn't it? You feel like you haven't lost the game, but you didn't win the game. You've got 2 points. Was there an empty feeling inside amongst the playing group, or was there more of a joyous, positive feel knowing that you saved yourselves from defeat?
I think more of a joyous feel towards the end. Obviously, it's still a little bit of a weird feeling having a draw, like you don't come away with the win, but I think because we had so much of a chance kind of to lose and we were able to come back and save it, I think it was a bit of a joyous feeling. We haven't got a win so far this year, so we were kind of happy with the draw rather than a loss.
You must have been impressed with the team's performance on Saturday, because it was neck and neck throughout the game. No real big advantage for either South Fremantle or yourself on that game on Saturday, and you were very impressive to hang around the Bulldogs throughout the game.
Yeah, it was a really good game. I think off the back of playing Stubby last week, we didn't probably play the way we wanted to, and I think we showcased a lot of the game plan that we've been trying to chase throughout pre-season. So it was a pretty good game. It was a good game from both sides, but yeah, I think us as a whole were really proud of the way we were able to play.
You've got Steph Waddling, former East Fremantle Premiership coach, at the helm at Demonland. What has she brought to the table in the Demons' second year of competition?
Yeah, she's great. Coming into Steph, I obviously was new to the club this year, so I didn't know a whole lot coming from Victoria, but Steph's made it such a good transition for all of the new girls that have come into the club and all of the existing players as well. She's just such a caring coach and someone that really puts a lot of effort into getting to know you as a player, as a person, and makes everyone feel just really comfortable.
Yeah, that's really good. Tell me about the style of play in the WAFL W. How does it differ to the VFLW when you're at Carlton, having won the best and fairest last year with the Blues? What's the difference in style as how the game is played?
It's probably a little bit more open. The VFL is probably a little bit more congested and a lot more stoppages from what I've kind of noticed. But yeah, I don't see too many difference. I think the standard of game's probably pretty similar. A lot of people kind of hold the VFL in a really high regard, but I think, the WAFL's definitely getting up close to the same standard.
And the competition overall is getting better, isn't it? We're seeing a lot more higher scores. The skill is getting better week in, week out. Was that a key sign of you coming over to West Australia with the improvement of skill and standard in West Australia?
100%. I thought I had a look at some of the WAFL games from last year and was having a chat to a lot of people over here. And I just think the excitement that the WAFL brings, especially towards the WAFL W and how it's a growing competition, was definitely something that kind of got me over here as well.
Now, you've got Peel Thunder on Saturday afternoon, long trip to Mandurah, Lane Group Stadium, and of course you've known how to beat Peel in recent times at the Perth Football Club in this case, so they'll be looking to do it again, but it's always a long trip having to go down there. The ground is obviously a lot smaller, the pockets are a little bit thinner, so the midfielders are going to have to make the most of that narrow space at Lane Group Stadium.
Yeah, I've never been actually down there, so I'm excited to take a trip down there. But I think, we played Peel a couple of weeks ago in the practice match, and they showed some really good signs. I don't think the scoreboard from that game really reflected how close it was. And I think, we're really excited for the challenge to come up against them. But, something different going down to Mandurah. So, us as a midfield group and the whole team collectively will do our best, as always, to work really hard and, get some scores on the board, hopefully.
Absolutely. A couple of the players that were really impressive in that drawn game against South Fremantle. Isabella Shannon, runner-up in the Daraku medal last year. Holly Britton got amongst the ball. Isla Baldwin, and also Mia Karlshausen, along with yourself, really stood out in that clash. Got a lot of the football, and a lot of your forwards really converted on a lot of chances. Poppy Stockwell in particular with a couple of goals. Their performances really were key in that drawn game.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good individual players in the team this year. So obviously Bella, everyone knows she's a gun, and we have a lot of support around her in the midfield and then up forward, and then obviously our defenders who work hard every week. So I think a lot of individual talent. I'm sure picking a team each week is really hard for Steph because, we've got so many great girls, but we're just kind of working on kind of building the connection and being able to go forward as a really connected group.
Well, we wish you all the best for the game against Peel Thunder on Saturday. Thanks for your time, Amy. All the very best for next week and for the remainder of the season.
Thanks for having me.
Well, dare I say it, Rothy, she's taken to the WAFL W like a duck to water. Amy Trindade from the Perth Football Club, the match saver last Saturday against South Fremantle. And Perth, while they haven't got a win on the board, the way they improved, especially through Trindade and company, was just brilliant.
Yeah, and the way they didn't give up to the game, even when it might have seemed like it was gone, to really finish off is a great sign of maturity in their second season.
Absolutely. We'll recap that game in a little bit more detail and more WAFL W action here on Around the Waffle. Stay where you are. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate.
On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
All right, Rothy, time for WAFL W. Round 3 is in the books, and we start off on the Friday night. You were on the call for the game at Goodgrosser Park, and we expected this one to be a real close tussle. It was for 3 quarters, with the margin being a goal in it at 3-quarter time, but then a 3-0 final term saw Swan Districts make it 3 wins out of 3, 23 points. Those Swans are hard to stop at the moment.
Yeah, East Fremantle were with them for most of the way, and it was just Swan Districts, the class and experience, got the upper hand in the end. But what East Fremantle did was every time they seem down and out, they got a goal right on the brink of the quarter-time siren, the half-time siren, and then the three-quarter-time siren for the likes of Wills, Leslie from the boundary, Wilson Sieber, their other goal kicker. But yeah, Swan Districts just got to work, and coming into the game with a percentage of 429%, they're always going to be hot, and it was that player again. We repeat it time after time. Jamie Henry, 31 disposals and 8 tackles as well as a goal.
We mustn't forget Lauren Quaife in the ruck. I mean, what a season she's having in the middle. 34 hitouts. And her engine room really played magnificent football all night, especially Jamie Henry, as you said, with 31. Naomi Baker as well. I thought she played her role quite well too.
Yeah, likes to take the game on and starts well. Luca Davis, I thought, had some good moments. A real breakout game from her. Jess Cox in the middle as well. And good to see Chloe Riley kick a goal against their old team. First time versing them on a ground that she is all familiar with in the Good Grosser Park.
And they had a great scoring spread as well. No multiple goal kickers in that game. And goes to show how versatile Swan Districts really are with their young side that they've got at the moment. East Fremantle, they fought hard and we'll give them credit for that. They always kept themselves in touch. But they just ran out of legs in that last quarter. They just weren't able to sustain that red-hot momentum they had in the first 3 quarters, even with the likes of Keeley in the ruck, who had 21 hit-outs, Mackenzie Webb with 17, Noah McNaughton with 21. She was brilliant, and Brianna Willis with 2 goals. They just couldn't sustain it. They just ran out of petrol tickets.
Yeah, but I think it was a good performance overall, considering where these sides are predicted to be, and I think that's the closest that a team has pushed one so far. So for the time being, East Fremantle are the best sample size we've got with competitiveness.
And they certainly are. Great win to Swan Districts by 23 points in the end. Now we go to Fremantle Oval. What a game this one was. Back and forth all afternoon. South Fremantle got the lead with a minute to go, and then in the dying seconds, Abby Trindade with that match-saving goal to tie the game, 8-7-55 apiece. And for Perth and South Fremantle, it's that hollow feeling after a draw again, but that was a game South Fremantle should have won with the momentum that they had in the final few minutes. But take nothing away from Perth. They stood with South Fremantle throughout that game, and their fighting spirit really is not going to be ignored this season under Steph Waddling.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones when there's a draw, it's like one team thinks they should have won and one team get away with one, and
Always
South Fremantle should have won that, to say the least. So, I think you look at the game and it was remarkable how Perth were able to score late. I mean, the ball was out of bounds, and it took a while for them, the person in the crowd, to give it back, and then they went and tied it up. So, credit to Perth. Of course, they get on the board with points, but they don't win a game. So a bit mixed feeling, but having said that, they did come from behind.
Yeah, Perth were tremendous all throughout that afternoon, and Isabella Shannon just continues to go from strength to strength midweek. 30 touches, Holly Britton with 20, Mia Karlshausen with 15, and also Isla Baldwin with 20 as well. For South Fremantle, Michaela Hyde with 20, Ash Gomes, not her best game by lofty standards, with 13, and Brianna Cleggett with 18. But Natasha Entwistle, very impressive, match high, 23 disposals. She provided plenty of grit in midfield.
Yeah, can run and carry really well, and obviously coming across from East Fremantle, where she's still finding her strides, but she's adapted really well into new colours.
No doubt about it. What a game that was at Freo Oval. Drawn game, the first draw of the season, but no such problems for Subiaco over East Perth. 39-point winners over at Sullivan Logistics Stadium, set up by a very big final term, 3-1, when it looked as though, 3-0 rather, when it looked as though East Perth might have just been in touch to an extent against the Subiaco side, who you would expect to win by maybe 50 points, but East Perth showed some good fight to their credit.
They did, and it was a real tight game really in that first quarter, and then Subiaco, as sort of expected, ran away with it in the end and restricted East Perth to just 1 point in the last quarter. I thought the midfielders got on top, as we come to expect from Shepherd, Steen and Petrevsky. It was good to see a nice crowd stay after the East Perth Swans League game to watch this twilight fixture at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. So East Perth, we know where they're at. I think they would have been pretty content with their first quarter. Bit to work on in their second half, but I think they're in a much different stage. Even Subiaco, we weren't too convinced on. They showed there's still that bit of that gap between them and the Royals.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Here we go with Subiaco, with Paige Shepherd again dominating. Lisa Steen was terrific as well. Petrevsky, didn't get as many possessions as she would have liked, but was very physical around the contest. And, that's one of her greatest strengths, is her physical pressure on the ball carrier. And the forwards rewarded their work, with Georgia Shell with 2 goals and Katie Smith with 3 goals straight from 8 disposals, and 36-10 inside 50. So the ball was in that forward 50 a lot of the time as far as Subiaco was concerned, and they took their chances and made it count.
Yeah, and they found a goal kicker of 3 goals at Katie Smith. Georgia Shell with 2 as well. She was effective, 16 disposals to match it. So So still obviously trying to find that main avenue up to goal, but I mean, there's no better way than finding that by not relying on one individual.
No doubt about it. Subiaco winning a good team performance by 39 points over East Perth. And then we go to the final game on Sunday. Wasn't a real surprise in the end when you see how Claremont dominated from the outset and never took their foot off top gear. 14-7 to 3-3 over Peel Thunder, 70-point margin with Matilda Husband dominant in the ruck. Beck Anderson up forward was terrific, and as well as the premier player, Jamie Harkin, with 27 disposals. A big win was needed, we said on Thursday, about Claremont's credentials in 2026 after not getting the job done against Swan Districts and winning quite unconvincingly against West Perth the previous week. Against, Peel Thunder opposition down the bottom of the ladder, regardless. A big win was a must, and they delivered.
Yeah, and the likes of Harkin back to her brilliant best, and had a lot of support through the likes of Viney with 29. Ruby Sargent-Wilson was probably best on ground, 30 disposals and a goal. Throughout the middle, they dominated, and really piled it on late as well to show that they're a class above Peel Thunder, who didn't score in the first quarter. Claremont, it was really their game to lose right from the outset.
We also forgot Megan Green. She also booted 3 goals as well. That forward line's finally starting to get some synergy.
And Mia Jackson as well, young player coming through, still trying to get that consistency, which might take a little bit of time with these key players developing. But they're the benchmark for a reason, and they did what they needed to do by 70 points.
Yeah, they were terrific all afternoon, weren't they? The Tigers, they go to 2-1 after 3 games. Okay, time for the votes, Rothy. Your much lauded player of the year votes. WAFL W round 3, who have you got?
1 vote from East Perth in a losing side. Liz McGrath had 42 hit-outs, 14 disposals and 5 tackles. I thought she couldn't have been better in the ruck, and especially with the opposition players in the midfield for Subiaco. 2 votes for Brianna Wills from East Fremantle, coming across from Perth. Kicked goals when they needed to, and that 1.5 time siren was a personal highlight. Isabella Shannon with 3 votes, had 30 disposals in that drawn game. Again, like my pick for the Dara Kerr medal, so she's no stranger to vote. She gets the 3. Jamie Henry with 4. She almost went the 3-peat back to back with 5 votes, but she still gets the 4. 31 disposals. And with an AFLW preseason draft coming up in May, don't be surprised if a bit of attention seems to come her way. And then 5 votes, just mentioned her in that Claremont game. Ruby Sargent-Wilson, the former Sydney Swan, coming across to a new club and making an impact. Taking a couple of weeks in the previous games to get used to things, but she was unbelievable with 30 disposals, hitting the scoreboard, and they're dangerous if she can be anywhere near her best.
Absolutely, no doubt. Great selections there, Rothy. Can't argue with those. Okay, time for the top 3 plays of the week. I'll steer us through the plays, Rothy, before we wrap things up. South Fremantle in play number 1. They'd led with a mere minute to go in their WAFL W clash against Perth, and then a free kick was rewarded to Amy Trindade. She kicked truly with seconds remaining. Then the siren went. What would have been a South Fremantle win turned into shared spoils with a draw. And sometimes, like in a grand final, it's the most hollow feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't know whether to celebrate. A couple of players did, from the perspective of we did well to come away with that one. A few players were a bit more reserved, but shouldn't take away from that goal. To keep it cool as well. I know it's straight in front, but still, the pressure in that moment shouldn't be underestimated.
Absolutely, and you'll like this one. Play number 2, one of the first passages of play for the day. Swan District surged forward against an initially suspect East Perth. The ball trickled toward the boundary line in the forward pocket. Then Jackson McLaughlin took possession, turned 1, then 2 inside out, then kicked a freak goal of the year contender that sparked the Swans quite early. You were on fire with that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was my first call for League of the Year. I mean, I don't know really what else is there to aim for in terms of passages of play, but no, in all seriousness, Jackson McLaughlin, the ball looked like it was going out, and I think he... Well, I'd love to talk to him about it, but I don't even know if he knew what was going through his head. It's credit to him. Can't say that's probably something he'd practice, but having said that, he's a live wire small forward who can wheel out the bag of tricks as he did there. And unfortunately, it didn't end up being a winning day for them, but he was one of the couple of players who stood out in that first quarter.
He certainly did. McLaughlin, certainly a star at Swan Districts, and really can sizzle up a crowd, no doubt about that. Play number 3. We love a specky anywhere in the WAFL, no matter who's taken the mark, no matter where. But former West Perth player Sasha Kernet graced his blue and gold wings and clipped the Falcons' feathers with this huge mark in the first half. Might have been an omen for the Eagles' win on Sunday, but against his old side, as he took an early Mark of the Year contender. What about it?
Yeah, another player who doesn't need a lot of it to make an impact. Obviously coming and giving from West Perth, playing a year in the PFL last year and coming back to an Eagles WAFL top-up player. So, he loves the spec in, and that was no different on Sunday.
He just came in from the side of the pack and just snatched it out of midair. A job well done, Sasha. That's it for today's edition of Around the Waffle Thursday. We're going on location, Rothy. We're going to South Fremantle, and we're going to be speaking with Ash Gomes.
Looking forward to that. Plenty of insights, obviously, at a new club, crossing over from the crosstown arrivals. So, keen to see you again on Thursday, and another big round ahead looms.
No doubt about it. And I'll see you on Thursday, Rothy. Viewers and listeners, we'll see you on Thursday for a massive preview of Around the Waffle, along with Around the Waffle on location down at South Fremantle. You're watching on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel, and of course, listening on our podcast service. Thanks to Sullivan Logistics, District Promotions, Front Row Screen Sport, and Grant's Car Stereo Morley. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday for our huge preview show. We'll see you then.